them how I sent them to you. I think this is the same order, just so you have them.
Okay.
One of the questions the kids came up with for you, what it's like living your everyday life as a Black woman, and have you experienced discrimination at work or everyday life because of your race and gender?
Okay. For me, this really was kind of a threefold question. I'm gonna say, as far as experiencing discrimination in the workplace, I've been really fortunate to work at some organizations and agencies that that had really good policies in place, where I have not experienced anything on a agency or organization level. I have experienced things, but it's stuff that was, I guess, linked to my position. Examples would be, I've had experiences where other agencies kind of refused or seemed unable to acknowledge me, to acknowledge my role, especially if I was in a higher position. There were individuals or agencies that refused to acknowledge that I had that position. And I can't think of any other reason other than it being a color thing, because it wasn't based on my knowledge or what I brought to the table as an individual, but it's like sometimes people see right through you as a Black woman, and especially a Black woman in position. A lot of times people see through you and see you as the person who's, you're there as just the position holder and you need to go back and tell other people. When that's not how my agency sent me out. My agency sent me out as a representative for whatever it was I was doing at that time. I've also experienced issues when providing services. I've had individuals who I may have showed up to provide services for them, or to give them something that they were looking for, and them not wanting it from me, with no other explanation. And you can kind of feel when that reason is based on race. And that's something I want to talk about later on, because not everything is racism, but there are some things that you can blatantly see is purely because of the color of your skin, that they don't want to have that interaction with you. And usually in that instance, you refer them to someone they're more comfortable with, but it doesn't feel good knowing that you're completely capable of providing them with that, but they just would rather not have it than get it from you. Another one that I experienced, I think sometimes, and I don't know how to put this in any other way, but I think sometimes I sound white on the phone, because I've experienced instances where I've arrived for whatever it was I was interacting with this person on, and they not think I was the person that was supposed to be there. It's happened in professional situations. I know I showed up for one presentation and they kept trying to guide me to where the Black parents are. And I'm like, no, I'm the person here for your presentation. And it just did not sit well with them. You could tell a whole vibe changed, because I was not what they were expecting. I've placed orders, and when I went to pick them up, you place them on the phone, you order what you're gonna order, you pay for it. And when I go to pick it up, they refuse to give me my stuff, telling me, oh no, you can't possibly be the person that called. Like, I'm absolutely the person that called. And then to have to not only be able to tell them exactly what I ordered, what I paid, show the credit card I paid for, to be able to get the things that I ordered over the phone. So sometimes I try to be mindful and go, if you're placing an order, you better use your Black voice, girl, or you ain't getting it. So those are just some instances. Now, prior to coming here, you don't experience it as much. Racism is not as blatant, say, like in big cities like New York. And if I had to think of two that were, that I guess stuck with me most, I don't know if all of you know, but I used to work in the subway, in the token booth in New York. And there were certain areas that did not like people of color working in those booths. And one of them happened to be Far Rockaway, Queens. And I ended up being sent to that station, and I was only there for maybe 2.5 hours, but it was 2.5 hours of torture. Every single person that came through there had some, racial slur or something saying where I should get out, until it got to the point where a group of men actually came down to the station and sprayed all of the windows black while they were yelling different racial slurs. At that point, I was able to hit the alarm, and they did get me out of the booth. But it was a very scary situation because I did not know what was coming next. Other than that, a funny one, because I'd like to wrap this part up with a funny one, is there was a woman who used to come down to the station, and I think she thought the color would come off because she refused to touch me or anything that I touched. She would put on a glove to put her money into the slot and then use that same glove to pick up the token and put it into the turnstile to go through. And being me, there was one day where I just wanted to test it. So as she was sticking her money in, I kind of grabbed the glove and ripped the finger part, and she almost died. She had such a fit, like she was suddenly contaminated, when all it was, like, I don't even think I actually touched her skin, but I had to tell her, I'm like, look, it doesn't come off. You're not going to get it. You're not going to wake up and be black tomorrow. So as far as discrimination or feeling any of those things, that's pretty much it. Being a black woman, every day, like I said, it's the placing orders thing. The other one I had was being followed in stores. I'm absolutely followed in a lot of stores that I go in. I've learned to try to turn it into a positive. They'll try to do it nonchalantly, like, oh, we're just shopping in the same area you are. But I love when I turn around and go, do you know where so-and-so is? I feel like I always have help. But yes, you do get followed in stores. You do, I get pulled over more often if I'm driving than I find other people do. I know living in the area I live in now, I used to get pulled over at least once a week. And it was really once I hit Chinchilla, it really was, I knew it was happening. The fact that I, was always in a different car, I think it made it more difficult for them. But it was really just some bogus, oh, your light over your license plate is out, that's why we pulled you over. When, no, the light wasn't out. It was just where you going, why are you here, and do you belong here? But I think the hardest part of all, and I know we only got an hour, so I better speed some of this up, but the hardest part of all in this area in particular is renting an apartment as a Black woman. That was my most difficult thing, and I think that it was the most hurtful thing when it came to trying to find a place to live. And that was because I, decided to go, I into an expensive development because they really just go on income. But if I want to rent affordable housing or in a private apartment, that's where it becomes more difficult. And again, I think I get into that white voice, and I'm not what they expect when I arrive. But before I found this apartment, I must have looked at 40 different apartments, and I was not the right skin color for any of them. Now, I didn't want all of them, but there were probably about 15 of them that I thought were really nice. And I got excuses like, well, a lot of other people looked at it, so we went with one of them. Or it's no longer available, or it's available, but now you have to jump through all these hoops if you're going to get it. Like, you have to get your own appliances. And I'm like, but it had appliances. Well, we're taking those out. You have to get your own appliances. And you have to clean your own snow. Just things that deterred me from wanting to rent that apartment. Not to mention, in none of those situations was I even allowed to fill out an application. So I knew I wasn't going to be considered beyond looking at the apartment. Any questions from anybody? Any thoughts with any of that? for many of you young people, I'm not going to just do this by myself. Y'all, I'm not just going to sit here and listen to me talk. Y'all don't have any thoughts? Dead silence.
How did
Boy,
you
you
deal
really.
with that? Like, how did you deal with, like, knowing that people were just, like, always discriminatory against you? Not always, but, like, a lot of the time.
Khalees? Oh my God. Just so amazed looking at all of you. Hi, Khalees. I'm sorry, ask that question again.
How did you deal with that? Like, how, like, did it, like, take a toll on your mental health knowing that people were, like, just, like, discriminatory against you, and, like, knowing that they don't like you because it's something that you can't control?
It does force you over time to learn to have a thicker skin. As a younger person, it's harder to deal with. And well, I didn't have it too much as a younger person. I couldn't imagine what it's like to have to deal with it as a younger person. And we'll go into that in question 2. But it forces you to kind of learn to let some of that roll off. It makes you try to be aware of the fact that it really has nothing to do with you, and that it is that person themselves. Is the only time it's difficult or a struggle for me is if that person wants to physically harm me because of the color of my skin. You get to a point where you learn to, or you just become kind of numb to the words and the treatment, because it's going to happen regardless. But as long as it's not someone who's, wanting to, attack me in some way because of the color of my skin, you learn to kind of, I guess, roll with it, which is something that I absolutely do not want for the younger generation. As an older woman, and no, Miss Angel has never told y'all how old she is, and it ain't happening now. But as an older woman, those are things that I had to deal with, and I don't want that for the next generation. I want you guys to not have to experience it to the same level that I had to experience it and the people before me. Thank you for that question, please. Anybody else have a question? If not, we're going to roll on to question number 2.
Anybody have anything? Any comments? Nothing.
Do you ever wish you were a different skin color?
Absolutely not. Your camera's not on, so I can't see your face, but absolutely not. I love the skin I'm in. I would not change the experiences I've had. They haven't all been negative experiences. So no. And because I don't happen to feel that one race or color is better than the other, we're all the same. We're all the same. I would like, and like I said, I just would like for us to all to be able to have the same experiences in the same way. But no, but that was a great question. Thank you.
All right.
So we're going on to number 2.
Yeah, question 2. Was it hard growing up Black, and do you think things will get better for future generations of young Black people?
For me, it was not hard growing up Black because I grew up in Harlem. And at that time, Harlem was an all Black community. I had all Black teachers. All of my neighbors were Black. The downfall to that was, and this is going to probably sound, I guess it's kind of what helps me understand people who grow up in an all-white neighborhood. Because as a child, I thought white people were fictitious. And I know that sounds horrible, but I only saw them on TV, so I thought they were like cartoon characters. And I'm talking small child, okay? I'm not talking about like I was, 22 thinking white people weren't real. No, but as a small child, I had never seen any. Everyone I saw looked like me. Everyone I saw had dark skin, maybe different shades, but we were all Black. And for that, I think the first time I saw, you might have to edit this story out because it's not all that positive, okay? But the first time I saw a person who was not Black, or the first time I saw a white person, was when I played hooky from school and got on a train and rode below 96th Street. And I remember standing there going, oh my God, they're real. Because I had never seen them before. I probably was in, I don't know, maybe 4th, 5th grade. No hooky playing, kids, okay? No hooky playing. But I had never seen them before. And then it was my curiosity of, wow, like I kind of did some of the things that people do to me now. Like I literally touched someone's hair. And I get people all the time asking me, can they touch my hair? But it was like, oh my God, what does that feel like? So I understand that curiosity when you don't know and when you're not exposed or not around people of other races and cultures. I absolutely think things are going to get better, but I think it is completely up to the younger generation. I think we have to recognize that the things that are going on now are that things have the full potential to be temporary unless we continue the fight. And I don't mean a physical fight, but I just mean that we continue to stay involved in the struggle, stay involved with educating each other and being around each other, understanding each other, interacting with each other. I think it absolutely has the potential to get better, but we have to stay vigilant with making sure that that happens. Any questions?
So being that you said that, do you think race, racism, and racialized violence should be something discussed with younger people?
Yes, and that's one of our questions. I do think that that is something that should be discussed. I think it should be discussed with children of all races, not just children of color, because we have to understand that, because there is a distinct difference between racism, racial justice, racial violence. You have to understand where what all of those components consist of and where they're coming from. And you really got to look at the racial violence part of it, because a lot of that is not so much a part of the movement. A lot of the people engaging in the racial violence are just angry and don't know any other way of expressing that anger. The other part of that is that a lot of the racial violence that you see is not really from the protesters themselves. It's from people who are coming in and just trying to make that protest seem as though it's a savage act. Did you have another question? That was a really good question, though. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That was really good. Okay.
Anyone else?
Any comments? Anybody can relate to anything that Miss Angela said?
I got some questions for y'all at the end, though. Don't worry.
Good. I was hoping you would too, you know. Okay. Let me see. So the third question they had thought up as a group was, do you think people are trying to be more open about discussing race and diversity issues, or do you think it's only a temporary interest to being open?
I definitely think people are trying. I think more and more people are trying to get involved and be open to the idea of it. What I do think, though, is that some of it, and this is just my own thought again, that some of it is, some of the things you're seeing right now may just be to pacify the current stream of events, because you are starting to see things that you didn't see before. I don't watch this show, but it was the first thing that came to mind, the fact that we're having a black male and a black female bachelorette. You never saw that before, but I think it's just pacifying and fitting into these times. having said that, though, I absolutely think there are changes. I think there are a lot of people of both Black and white nationalities that want to see these things change, that want to see it happen. But the only way it's going to happen is if we continue to struggle. And I'm having a hard time reading my notes here. How we keep that from being a temporary thing is by having young people stay in the struggle for equal rights, staying into the struggle for, you know, shared knowledge among each other, and becoming politically aware, knowing who your political or your political representatives are, making sure that they hear your issues, making sure that they are aware of the things that are important to you. If you want the struggle to stay alive, to continue, you have to make sure that they understand what your feelings are with that and what you want to see happen, the things that need to be addressed so that there are equal rights for everyone and not just for some. I think you guys really have to learn that whole political and democratic process and become active voters in that process, because the politicians really only partially hear those who are voting. They don't hear nothing the non-voters are saying. And it's the non-voters that then end up paying for it in the end. So I think you just have to keep it going and things will definitely get better. But how much better that gets is really going to be up to the people behind us, the younger people. You got to stay active in this movement. I can't say that enough. Thoughts? Anyone right now having any active roles in the political stuff that's going on now? I know you're all under 18, but are you talking about it with each other? Are you starting to, you know, look at and begin to understand that democratic process? And if the answer is no, it's okay, but I'd like everyone to answer, please.
No.
At the center sometimes, like I know like me, Carla, Angelise, and Cam and Brock talk about it, about stuff like that, like when we have like free time. And yeah, it's pretty fun to do that. And then Miss Kylie and Mr. John and Mr. Nathan like are trying to get in touch with other people that we can talk about stuff like that. So I mean, I'd say that I am, and like my friends are.
Okay. Great. Anybody else? I heard someone say no, and no is okay. It's just something to consider. It's better to be aware. It will help you with figuring out your place in this whole process. Did anyone else have something? Thank you, Khalees. Did anyone else have something? Yeah. Any involvement? Any thought of getting involved? Do you all have a full understanding of some of the things that are going on? Because I don't want it to be a thing where young people just feel like, oh my God, Black people are making all this noise and they just want everything right now. And if you don't have that full understanding, it's easy to have that thought or that feeling.
Lauren, did you say something? I thought I saw Lauren. I wasn't sure.
I said, yeah.
You did? Yeah.
What did you say?
I got like learned it at school and stuff. Like we talk about it at school. So yeah.
I want to encourage you to learn it outside of school, because a lot of times you're not fully privileged to the information that you need in school. And I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to bash the schools, okay? I'm not in any way saying school is not teaching you stuff, but you have to look at things like Black history. What are you taught about Black history in the schools that you attend? So it's good to use what you get from the school, and I am in no way at all saying, Lauren, that you've done anything incorrect with that. But make sure that you broaden where you're getting your knowledge from, because the schools are going to teach you what they can based on the curriculum, and they have their restrictions. There are more things to learn about it. And like I said, and keep in mind that you don't tend to learn a lot of Black history stuff in school. You have to learn that outside of school. And this is kind of that same thing. You want to make sure that you're getting it from a wide range of sources, so that it can help you be more knowledgeable and form your own opinions. But thank you for that. Thank you, Lauren. Anybody else? Yeah, I thought this was going to be popping and fun. Like, you guys are all at home. I thought we was going to be able to have some fun with it. Lucy looked like she's going to sleep.
Zoom overload with the kids.
I'm going to keep picking on you, Lucy. I don't care. I'm going to keep picking on you. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so the next question that the kids thought of was, what are your thoughts or opinions about Black Lives Matter?
I think the whole process of Black Lives Matters is a movement that was far overdue. I think it is absolutely needed and necessary. I like that it's not just Black people involved in it. I like that it is an inclusive movement. It is the closest thing to me that reminds me of the Martin Luther King movement, because it is a nonviolent movement of people who are really just standing up saying we're tired and enough is enough. And we don't want to see one more Black life taken for no other reason other than being Black. I think that we definitely need to, let me see if there's something I'm forgetting from that. I think right now in the Black community, we need some leaders to emerge. And I think Black Lives Matter is emerging in kind of that leadership role. When you think about back in the day when we had Malcolm X and we had, Martin Luther King, and we had, many of the other Sojourner Truth and many of the other people who were active and helping to guide us as a community. I'm not saying we can't do it on our own, but there's strength in numbers. And if we can unite with a united message, we're more likely to have that heard than everyone kind of scattered and separate. So I think we needed something to come up as a leadership platform, and Black Lives Matter is definitely needed for that. What do you guys think about Black Lives Matter? What do you think about Black Lives Matter, Lucy? You can tell me. This is our discussion time. Please share with me. What do you think about Black Lives Matter?
I think it really is important.
Yes. You have grown so much. Your voice has changed. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but you've grown so much. But why do you think it's important, Lucy?
Because
there's no wrong answer. It's your opinion. Just like the things I've shared are my opinion. It's just us sharing opinions. Tell me, why do you think it's important?
I agree with you. I think it is long overdue.
Mm-hmm. You want me to leave you alone now? I'm gonna go to Christian. What do you think about Black Lives Matter, Christian? Thank you, Lucy. What do you think about it?
I don't know.
Do you know enough about it? That's a good question too. I mean.
Mm-hmm. And maybe you
No.
don't know enough about it. That's why you're
I
not
don't
sure.
really.
That's okay. That's all right. And I thank you for being honest about that. That's quite all right. Khalees, what do you think about Black Lives Matter? I'm going in order along my screen, so please don't feel like I'm picking anybody first. What do you think, Khalees?
I support Black Lives Matter wholeheartedly. I actually have a poster behind me that says Black Lives Matter
Yes, you
from
do.
the Black Scranton Project. Like she had like a thing this summer that was pretty cool, and I got one of them. I went to the protest downtown in June. Yeah, I support it. Like I have a shirt, cause like I'm biracial, but like I'm white passing. So and like I get like even like before Black Lives, like I got anxiety with my like brothers, cause like my brothers aren't white passing, and well, one of them is, but like they're not white passing, and I get anxiety about them like being out at night, because I never like sometimes like they'll come home like a little bit later than they usually do, and I get like anxiety about that. Like sometimes when my dad comes home like a little bit late, because like his like schedule fluctuates a lot, but like sometimes it's like pretty like steady. So like when he comes home late, I get anxiety about that. Cause like I don't think that anything, like I hope nothing happens to them, but like it's just kind of scary seeing things that happen. So
Because
yeah.
you know it exists, and you know it exists purely because of the color of their skin. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we don't hear that a lot from young people, that fear exists. That fear exists when you have siblings who have darker skin, or your dad has darker skin. Being the mother of a son, it's a real fear that you are always wondering, like, I hope nothing happened. And especially in this time. So that's something that definitely exists. I appreciate you sharing that, and thank you for bringing that up, Khalees.
No problem.
Who was next? Lauren. Tell me what you think about what Black Lives Matter.
I feel like it's important, but I feel like it's important, but just a lot of people don't like it, and then it's just like a bunch of argument and stuff with people, different people, and it's just like a big thing. Like that's why people see it like as bad. You know what I mean?
How do you handle that if people are being negative about it?
I just don't argue with people like that. Like it's a waste of time to argue about stuff like that.
Thank you for that. I think that's a good point, because there are a lot of people, I think, look at it, and when they hear Black Lives Matter, they take it as though people are saying that only Black Lives Matter, and that's not it at all. Or that Black Lives Matter more than some other race, and that's not it at all either. And that's where I think you get some of that pushback from it. But so thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate you. Who else? Did I leave anybody out? Did I get everybody? I got everybody that's across my screen. Is anybody not across my screen that's hiding?
You got Raheem and Shahid there.
Raheem, Shahid, what do y'all think about Black Lives Matter? Because y'all not, I don't see y'all up on my screen. It must just be too many.
I think it's very, I think we need it as Black people, but I think we need Black movement and Black power more than we need Black Lives Matter, because certain things that Black Lives Matter doesn't compare up with to in the past when they did Black movement and Black power.
Okay.
So I feel like we need that stuff more than we need Black Lives Matter, but they're both very well.
Oh my God, your voice has changed too. I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying. Is there a chance though that we could include some of that movement stuff with Black Lives Matter instead of making a separate movement? What do you think about including it into that process as opposed to having several different movements?
Yeah, no, I feel like we can include it. But yeah, no, I feel like we can include it.
And it was just a question. I'm not taking anything from your thought or your idea with it. It was just a question. You ain't getting off the hook. You go. What do you think? What do you think? No. It's your turn.
Yes,
Yeah.
What happened?
just
What do you think about Black Lives Matter?
That it's very important.
Why? Why is it important?
Because a lot of bad things happen to a lot of Black people mostly, and it's important.
And it's time. It's time.
Yeah.
I hear you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your comments. You want to move on to the next question? Anybody else have any other thoughts or anything they want to say before we move on?
We have two more, I think, that we didn't get to. Angelise and Tiana. I believe Tiana did.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you think other people that are not Black are joining the Black Lives Matter because they want to hide their racism or because they actually care?
I think that's a really good question, but I don't think people are joining because they want to hide their racism. I think the ones that are getting involved on the violent level, that want to make it look as though this is some savage act that's going on, they're the ones getting involved to not so much hide their own racism, but just to try to bring a negative light to this particular movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think people who are racist, I don't think they want any parts of this process other than be it only a negative part. If they can't contribute to it negatively, I don't think they want to have any positive involvement with it, because I don't think they want to see this move in any positive way. And that's just my own thought. But that's a good question, though. Good questions. So who else did we miss?
Angelise and Tiana. And then Khalees had a question too on top of that.
So let's get Angelise and Tiana, and then we'll come back to you, Khalees, okay? Angelise, what do you think about Black Lives Matter?
I don't know how to answer this question.
Okay, can I put it a different way then?
Sure.
Do you think it is a movement that is necessary?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I support it. Yeah, I just because everybody already talked about it, and basically I'll just repeat what they already said.
Okay. Is there anything that you have to add different to that?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you. And who else did we leave out? Who's the last one?
Tiana.
Anna, what do you think? This also allows me to see each of your faces. So, what do you think, Tiana?
I feel like it's very necessary to have, and that Black Lives Matter has not been taken seriously as much as it should be. And I feel like people think that it's just something that they want to do to prove a point, which is true. But at the same time, it's been something that they, African American people, have struggled with for a long time now. And even then, people didn't take them seriously. So now that they're doing it, now it's a problem. You know what I mean? Because they're actually making noise and making a point. And I think that bothers a lot of people.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. Good point. Good point. Khalees, what was your question?
Okay, so I thought of this question when Shahid asked this question. Do you think that a lot of people that aren't people
Mr.
of
Nate,
color?
my mom's calling me.
Ooh, okay. Do you think that people who are supporting Black Lives Matter like who aren't people of color or black are doing it like as like performative activism, like just for like social media. Like they just want to have like a good presence on social media, so that's why they're saying stuff about it? Or do you think that like the majority of people actually care? Or like do you think a lot of them are doing it because they just want to look at on social media?
I think the majority actually care. I think the majority are actually, like I said, just tired of seeing the things that are going on. I think the majority also is looking at it as, a lot of times when you see stuff happening to one set of people, if nothing is done about it, it's only a matter of time before that could happen to the next set. Even though it may not happen to, say, white people directly, it's going to happen to people they know. It's going to happen to, you know, people that are within their family. So I think the majority, are there some that are getting involved with it for the wrong reasons? As always. There could be some. So I'm not going to say everyone is, but I like to believe that the majority of people that are involved in it are really involved in it for the right reasons, and that are really doing it because they want to see a change in our society as a whole. And that's just, I might just be completely delusional, but that's what I believe. Thanks for that question. Anything else before we move on to the next question? What are we up to, Kylie? 5?
Yes, I think so. Because I know Tiana kind of asked 6, but we can always go into that more.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you guys are, that was a great discussion so far. It's been really good. I'm really proud of you guys. I don't want to tear up, you know. I get so proud of them. They guys are, I just love your thinking. I love that we're talking and open about this, and this is a really cool project, and you're kind of you're our first one, Miss Angel, so it's an exciting way to start it off.
All right.
Okay, so I have kind of piggybacking on the last question. What are your thoughts on the Blue Lives Matter? I don't know if I want to call it a movement, but we'll just say the Blue Lives Matter.
Blue lives absolutely matter. I know that's a hard thing. A lot of people are so stuck on the anger that based on their experiences or the negative things that have happened by police all across the country. But those blue lives, those people who are putting on those blue uniforms every day are going out to do a very difficult job, which is protecting us, you know, making sure that people are following laws. And we need those laws, because without them, there would be total anarchy. There would be there would be crimes and things going on. So they matter, okay? There are people and you know, there are people just like we are, and there are people trying to do a job. The problem is that you have a set of them that are not doing their job well. Not all police are bad police, but unfortunately there are far too many that are. I think there needs to be a change in how police are trained. I mean, and even before you get to the training, I think there needs to be a change in the screening and hiring process, because you can't take someone who is a racist and suddenly expect them not to be a racist when they put on that blue suit. So I think there has to be more background check. There has to be more before you even hire them and bring them into that position. And then once they're into that position, there has to be cultural training across the board, not just about Black people, but cultural training in general, because they have to understand when they're dealing with different people. But even when you understand that the different cultures, you have to bring it back to the fact that the laws have to be unified in a way so that people are treated the same. You can't walk up to a car and decide what treatment you're going to give to that person based on their skin color. You really have to approach that car with the same treatment, the same thought process. You're there to make sure that they have not committed a crime, and you can't just assume that a crime has automatically been committed based on that person's skin color. They really have to start to treat each person in a humane, lawful, dignified way that is the same across the board. And I say that because, I mean, when you look at things, an example for me, there were 2 incidents that happened with, and they happened this year. I don't quote me exactly on when, but 2 kids stole school buses, took them on a joyride. One kid was black, one kid was white. They had to, chase the bus down in both instances. And at the end of that process, you saw, and he may not have been white. I know he had a lighter complexion, but you had the child with the lighter complexion that at the end of that process, once the bus was stopped, the police was sitting with him and talking with him and waiting for his parents to pick him up. And the black child, or the darker complected kid who had done that same thing, was surrounded by police, and he was in handcuffs at 11. So it's not the same treatment. I couldn't understand in my mind why they weren't sitting around that child and waiting for his parents to pick him up. His parents are going to have to go to court. His parents are going to have to pick him up from the juvenile detention center when he did exactly the same thing. So the treatment has to be the same across the board, regardless of the color of the skin. And that's my whole thing with it. But I do not in any way feel that we should have open season on police and start just gunning down police officers. Their lives do matter. In spite of the fact that I'm not crazy about the treatment I've gotten from them either. I, just like many other Black people, I don't have a good relationship with police officers. I've never had, my only positive interaction with police was when we did the thing at Bellevue with the kids, the basketball game. That was my only positive interaction with police officers. When a car pulls up behind me and no sirens go on, oh, I am afraid. I don't know how this is going to end up, and that should not be the case. I should not instantly feel what this interaction is going to be like. And I think that's not my fault. That's based on my interactions with officers, and I think officers have to fix that. But their lives do still matter. Any thoughts with that? Because that was a lot. Any thoughts, people? Are any of you afraid of the police?
I don't think Blue Lives Matter
Uh-huh.
because their skin isn't blue. They can't they can take off their jacket or whatever uniform and call it a day, but Black people can't do that.
Right. But you still think it matters as far as it's not fair to gun them down. It's not fair for them to be hurt just because their officer's trying to do a job. Yes. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Anyone? Go ahead.
I don't think older cops, I don't think their lives matter because they're the ones that are gunning us down. The older ones are manipulating the younger ones into being like them so they can keep their racism generation going. I don't think the older ones should be employed because they're the ones that are.
Okay. So so you're saying they did not receive proper training, have their own racist ideas and thoughts, and they're passing that down to the next generation of officers coming in.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so when you say you don't feel like their lives matter, do you feel like they just should not be in that job?
Mm-hmm.
No,
because
yeah,
that's
they shouldn't be
different
in
than
that job.
saying their lives don't matter and they should be out.
Yeah, no. I'm not trying to say like they should die, but I'm saying like they
Okay.
shouldn't be employed in that
Yes,
work
I get you.
field.
I get you. I get you. So you're saying the best way to clean up the police force is to move out the older generation. It's time for the older generation with the old boy mentality to go so that we can start to have some fresher, more open-minded ideas. I hear you. I hear you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm not afraid of police. I don't want to say I don't support the police. I don't support the system that they're working on currently, but I know there are like some good police, but I feel like the bad police outweigh the good police. And I think that there should be a system reform because the system that they're running on right now is built off of racism and slavery. So like this system that they're using right now is not good, and there definitely needs a reform, but I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. Hopefully eventually in the future it does. But I don't think that I don't think that blue lives matter because it's not, you're not blue unless you're the people from that one video, but like you're not blue, like you can't be blue, like you wear the uniform and you get to take it off, but people of color, they don't get to take it off, they don't get to erase that from themselves like they can. So I feel like using the argument blue lives matter against the black lives matter, like it's just kind of like, I feel like when you do that, I feel like you're just offended by the word Black Lives Matter, because I've seen like people who like support all lives matter, they'll like they say that like all lives matter, but then they'll say like blue lives matter. So it's like, it's not the fact that it's just that they don't think that all lives matter, they're just offended by the word, like they're just offended by Black Lives Matter. But that's just my opinion on it.
Yes, yes. And absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Any of those I can't see on screen? Any thoughts? All right.
I'm not scared of police either, but at the same time, I don't trust them. And like, I feel like that's something that like Black people, honestly, I feel like they don't trust the cops either more than they're scared of them, because they already know what situations other people have been in. They already know, like, if they're to make one sudden move, that a cop might pull out a gun, you know what I mean? And I think that's what makes them more scared, because they can't trust them to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I love that you guys are interacting. This is great. Anything else? Anything else? What was that, number 5? So then we would be up to
6. And I know
6.
Tiana did bring this up again, but I mean, we can dig in deeper. So it was, do you think racism and racialized violence should be something discussed with young people?
And yeah, my answer to that was yes. I think it should be discussed. I think it should be discussed with all people. I know, and I don't know if anyone else is aware of it, something that happens in the Black community. A lot of times Black parents have what they call the talk with their children. And that talk consists of making them aware of the fact that you're going to experience some racism. You're going to experience people who don't like you just because of the color of your skin, how to act around police officers, how to act if this happens, how to act, how to respond to different things so that our children come home, because we don't want something happening to them and it happened because they behaved in a different way. And I think that's a sad conversation that we have to have. And I hope that one day we don't have to have a conversation to that depth. But I think we do have to talk to young people about it. One being because you have to have a clear understanding of racism. You have to have a clear understanding because not everything is racism. Okay. If you get an F on your paper, it wasn't because the teacher, because you were Black, it was because you got the paper wrong, you know. But I don't want young people to suddenly feel like everything that happens to me happens because I'm Black, or everything that happens to me happens because of the color of my skin. So I think in having conversations, we can avoid that type of thing happening and give more clarity to what is racism and racial discrimination. Did you have a question? Because you popped up, Nadia.
No, sorry, my Wi-Fi got cut out. I had to join on my phone.
What else did I have about that? Let me see, because I think I had something else. That's a question I'm going to ask you. I asked you that one already. No, I think that was all I wanted to say about that. I do want to ask if any of you feel as though you've ever experienced any racism, and what did that make you feel like? And you don't have to be a person of color to experience somebody not liking you purely because of the color of your skin. So has anybody experienced a racism that they feel comfortable sharing, and what did that feel like for you?
I did. So
Okay.
like I'm experiencing it like right now, like this year. So in my automotive class, it's like, I'm not gonna say it's blunt racism, but it's underlined racism. So they'll go whisper to their friends, or they'll think I won't know anything when they're like whispering and talking to each other. Or because we're working on cars and they work it on all their lives out in the country and doing what they do, they don't think I know anything. So when I show them out, they get mad. And then like they'll whisper like under their breath like the N-word, and like I want to like walk up to them and just start beating on them, but I can't because I have respect for the teacher and I have respect for myself. So I'm not gonna let that try to get to me. I'm not gonna let them get under my skin. So I'm still going through it, but I'm gonna just wait for one of them to mess up seriously, so I can really do something.
I can tell it makes you angry. How is there any other feelings that come up with that?
Yeah, I just a lot of anger.
Just angry. What
Yeah.
about you? Since you're on camera, I can get y'all both at the same time.
Recently, well, not recently, but whenever
Doesn't have to be
me-
recent, at any time.
Yeah. But whenever me and Shahid or my older siblings would go to the store, we always be followed around by people, and it will always make me upset, angry, and scared, because I'm like, I don't want you guys to assume that we're doing something that we're not doing.
And like when me and him were younger and we took Nadir to the store, we were all going to Family Dollar. It was recent, but not recent. So we went to Family Dollar and we grabbed something. And while we were walking around grabbing other stuff, the lady came up and then she grabbed it out of her hands and she walked back to the front like, you guys can't have that, or you guys can't walk around with it. And I'm like, put it in that glass container if you don't want people walking around with it. You get what I mean? Because you're trying to use the fact that people are stealing it for your low-key racism.
And everyone else can walk around with it, but you can't walk around with it.
Yes.
Yes.
So that situation, I was angry, uncomfortable. We didn't we never went back to that store.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Thank you. Anybody else feel like you experienced something negative purely because of the color of your skin?
I have.
Who was that?
Lauren.
Can you tell us about it, Lauren?
Like, cause I go to an all white school, so like all the time I was there, like people be like, "Oh, what happened if you had a black guy? Would you see it?" Just like stuff like that. Or because I'm like Jamaican, my dad's from Jamaica, they would make fun of his accent and stuff like that. Just like things like that, like to be funny and stuff like that. But I really didn't see. Or they would talk about my hair, they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at your hair" and stuff like that. But like I really like didn't pay attention to it because I was younger, so I was like, "Oh, like it really don't matter," or I laugh at it. No.
Hmm. How does it make you feel now, though?
Nobody really says anything to me like that because I don't know. People find me scary and stuff. I don't know. Maybe because of my face, like they just don't be like talking to me like about stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Lauren. Anybody else?
Me, Tiana.
Uh-huh.
I was called a spick before
Mm-hmm.
in class, and I don't know if she was just trying to be funny, but like we were in class and like I was answering a lot of the questions because I understood the material, and like it was math class and I was like the only kid in there who understood anything she was ever talking about. And everyone would come to me for help. Everyone would ask me like, "Do you know what we're doing?" So I would help them. And in the class, the one time I answered a question and she was like, "Oh, you're smart for a spick." And like it made me think like, what, like am I supposed to be dumb and just like dumb myself down because other kids don't understand? And like I took, like at first I laughed because like everyone was laughing, it was a joke, I didn't mind it, it was fine, whatever. But then she said it again, and like then it started to bother me. It was like, if you say it one time and you think it's funny, it's a joke, whatever, but you keep saying it, it's like it's gonna start bothering me.
Mm-hmm. How did it make you feel, though? Did it just make you angry? Was it hurtful?
Honestly, like I was just surprised at the fact because she was she's like light skinned, she's like mixed. So I didn't think that those words would ever come out of her mouth. So I talked to her about it after class. I was like, I understood that you were just trying to joke about it, but I really found that disrespectful and I don't appreciate that you were calling me that. And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean anything by it. It was a joke." But I was like, "Okay, but just understand that that affects me, makes me upset, makes me angry, and like very disappointed."
I'm glad you were able to have that conversation with her. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Anybody else?
My
It's
mom
Shahid
got
again.
followed around in the. Oh, sorry.
Oh, my bad. No, you could go. You could go because I already went. So.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, what I was gonna say was like one thing that really like grinds my gears is like when we're about to do a presentation and like the teacher turns off the lights and they'll be like, "Oh, where did Abdullah go? Oh, where did like," because I'm darker than them, so they act like they can't see me, and then like, yeah, that they're microaggression, and then it's that, and I forgot what I was gonna say. It just like walked out my mind.
I'm really sorry that happened. Somebody actually turned off the lights and said, "Where did he go?"
Yeah, and oh, there it is. It just came back. I just grabbed it out the air. It'll be like, "Oh, can I like call you Jamal or something, or can I call you like Hakeem?" Or like they'll like ask to call me not my name, and that will make me angry, and I'll be like, "Call me by my name, like that's my name." And the one thing that gets me like real mad about teachers is when they hear something and they'll let it go, or when they're pronouncing names and they just mess it all up. It just gets me, ugh. It's not that hard to say Muhammad. Like you see, just because it has a U in it and not an O, it's not that hard. It still sounds the same.
Wow. I'm sorry about that thing with that teacher. That was deep. That was deep. What was the young lady that was gonna say something a moment gonna say?
Angelise, yeah.
Angelise, yes.
I'll be right back.
Was that it? No, that wasn't Angelise. That was Angelise, what were you gonna say?
Like my mom gets followed around in the store a lot because she's Hispanic, so people just assume she's gonna. That's basically all I have. Sorry.
That's okay. How does that make you feel though, knowing that they follow her around like that?
it makes me feel sad and mad.
Okay. All right. As we start to wrap this up, as we've already gone over the hour, so I've like sucked up a lot of you guys' time. I appreciate you all doing this with me. More people showed up than I thought was going to show up. I'm so happy to see the faces of those who were there when I was there, and I'm happy to see the new faces as well. I thank you all for showing up. I just have a couple things I want to say, and then Kylie, if you want to wrap it up, I'll leave that for you. Something that I think would be beneficial for this process as you guys are doing this is if you invite a Black male speaker, because there is, I mean, you get to hear what it's like from a female perspective, but Black men have a whole different set of things that they go through. It is so hard to be a Black man in America. And so I think it would be really beneficial to invite a Black male speaker to this process, and you know, so you can kind of get what that's like from that perspective. The other thing, let's see. The other thing I wanted to say is that I have not read them yet, but there are two authors. I'm gonna have to text you the name of the other one because I forgot to write it down. There's a Emmanuel Acho. Has anyone heard of him? He wrote a book on difficult conversations with a Black man. I'm planning on reading it myself. I don't know if any of you are interested, but it may have some useful discussion things that you might want to consider. If anyone does want to do it as a book club, and Kylie, if we could make this possible, I'd be willing to, you know, read some chapters and share some ideas and thoughts with people. If there's something we can work out. I'm not making any promises right now. I know you guys have your own schedules and your own things going on, and may not be something that we could make happen, but if we could make it happen through the youth department, I'd be willing to participate in that. So you guys, you know, share with Nathan and Kylie what your interest is on that. And then we'll just go from there, because I might be the only one who wants to read the book, and y'all might not want to hear from me again. So that's up to you, okay? My feelings are not going to be hurt. But I'm going to read the book. You decide what you want to do. The only other thing I wanted to close with is when you're in a situation, I'm going to have to read this because I wrote it. It was something that I thought, but if you find yourself in a situation where people are treating you differently because of the color of your skin, though it is very, very hard, and I know it's very hard, try not to take it personally so much, to the point that it changes how you feel about you and your abilities, to the point that it makes you feel that you are less than, because you're not. We are all equal, and you have to keep that in mind. Recognize that in some ways you are better than that person who is in that narrow-minded position. And I say that because you're in a situation where you can embrace different people. You're not, did we get cut off? Did I lose lots of people? You're not in a position where you're so closed-minded that you're not able to experience all the wonderful things that are, you know, around us, and that you can learn from all the different people that you come in contact with. The person who is the racist, filled with so much hate, they're taught that. That's something that they learn. And unfortunately, it can lead them to have such a limited life because they don't get to experience all the things that are so abundant within this community. And as a last-ditch pitch, like for me personally, I would not know how good Angel's cookies are if I refused to eat the cookies from a white woman, you know? Kylie, you want to wrap it up? I was just throwing that last stitch in there, okay, Nathan? But Kylie, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I know. I think John was trying to say something about
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
No, about Emmanuel Ocho. So if you want to go ahead, John.
Oh no, it was just gonna be brief. I was gonna say, like, I know he and I think Oprah helped him along with making that book. I was gonna say, I think I've shown a couple of you some of the videos during class even, but if you aren't necessarily into reading and you just want it in shorter bits, he has about like 10, 15-minute videos about
yes, on YouTube. Yeah, so if you don't actually want to read it, you could do the YouTube video and still get something from it. Thanks, John. I forgot to mention that part.
Yeah, I'll ask the kids. I think that's fine. I'm always for book club. I love reading. So I know hopefully maybe we can get a couple, even if it's just like little chapters that we can pull out. That'd be a really cool idea. So I'll look into that. But I just want to thank everybody. I'm happy for the turnout, and I think it was a really good discussion, and I'm proud of the kids. And I, appreciate them sharing some of those stories that weren't, positive, good stories. And I hope we can continue something like this and everybody's engaged. And I appreciate everybody for showing up.
Yes, I appreciate the interaction and all the feedback. I thank you all so much. And I'm here if you need me. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one.